Alright, so let's see where the smuggler takes us. Stratus City on planet Kortog.
So the Polaris galaxy. Tachyon owns all of
Yep,
it?
the galaxy we're traversing for this one is the Polaris galaxy.
Comes back to oppress the galaxy.
And apparently species, the Cragmites, were actually, tyrants, and opposed against the Lombaxes, Ratchet species. Yes, so this basically starts finally posing the question of why aren't there more Lombaxes in the universe?
A bioscan reveals a Lombax life form aboard your ship. Stand by for immediate disintegration.
Get the Lombax! Nothing but trouble! Nothing but trouble!
Sir, if you jettison the excess cargo, you could increase your speed and evade capture.
I couldn't agree more.
So to reject it, yeah, of course so.
Well, Dribs, this is how you get rid of your cargo without there being any witnesses to you.
And yeah,
specifically.
returning from free, we get some, not all, but some free-falling sections.
But yeah, I guess there are some technicalities, but from what I could recall, and mind you, it might just be a Mandela effect, but it really seemed like the series, definitely by the part of Rift Apart, made it a point that Ratchet's the only Lombax left.
No, I can tell you no. Okay, for the purpose of this game, that's what Tachyon believes genuinely, but it's not the true, and the pre-planning, at least for a cranking time, basically established that, TG Fixman was aware, and, it's just written deliberately like that to mislead.
Okay, fair enough then that he's being more tongue-in-cheek, but I will say, I personally still feel like there did not need to be a retcon about the Lombaxes overall, since the way Ratchet acted in Ratchet Clank 2 when he first saw Angela didn't suggest that there was a shortage of Lombaxes, just that Lombaxes just didn't happen to run into each other much.
It also... Okay, yeah, I can say that because, the first part, told us already. It also retcons a bit Ratchet's penchant for being a mechanic. If you remember, starting from the first game, Ratchet, started as a mechanic, was kind of passionate about, constructing things and, tinkering with stuff. There was also for example, the drill in the first game. But, even the other games of the series, there was a kind of a constant, with that. And honestly, it felt like it was basically just, a character quirk, his specialties, passion and everything. This game basically kind of tells that no, it's a species thing. The Lombax are naturally talented for being mechanics, which honestly, in itself, it's not that big of a deal, and objectively. But it kind of, defines a bit Ratchet of his identity, if you think about it.
Not only that, but Angela was such a klutz even with technology, so what's the deal with that, as supposedly she was supposed to be naturally gifted with
Well,
that?
to be fair, she's still the one who invented the device that could have calmed the Protopet. It's just that Quark had stolen it before it was completed.
Oh, true, but my point is, we saw her tripping over her tech a lot, even with making some of the tech. Yeah, she made a good one better, but I think it's more they made her less of a klutz when she was finally out of the armor. I digress. My point is, yes, it's a retcon, and I get it. Retcons coming in chain stuff, but it's a retcon that feels like, A, it didn't need to happen, and B, I don't know if they thought it through the best. And trust me, it's not. Trust me, audience. It's not just Ratchet that gets heavy retcons. Clank will get his turn too.
Well, again, it's part of the message. Not message, but it's part of the story arc for this future saga, trying to properly explain an origin story for both of our main protagonists, which hadn't been really told, in extent in the classic games. Clank, I argue, still, although, more simplistic than you may think, but definitely not Ratchet. He's just existed on Veldin, it was never elaborated. The movie and subsequently their reimagining tried to give him a Obi-Wan-esque figure, which is kind of an adopted parent, but just ignore that.
I mean, I swear, there are so many series that will bend themselves into pretzel nuts just to try and take a cue from Star Wars.
I have to remember, Jova, how revolutionary it was for the fictional media industry back then. Before that, your average, sci-fi story was either Flash Gordon defeating the bug-eyed monster from the Andromeda Galaxy, you know,
Or Star Trek.
well, Star Trek or Doctor Who, which specifically tried to avert, those specific cliches, but tried to at the same time be more grounded and more also philosophical, just in a different way that Star Trek was.
That is true.
Star Wars trying to reinvent the formula by incorporating literally every single genre of the movie industry. The slapstick comedy, duo with R2D2 and C-3PO, which clearly were inspired by figures like Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, for example. The Western, the samurai, horror movies, and of course having the sci-fi setting, the Knight Errant, and Arthurian Cycle. Literally, almost, it was basically a casserole of a microcosm of pretty much every single genre just put in a epic sci-fi context.
I do
Something
get what
that
you mean.
Not
Like,
many people had tried before. That's what I mean.
I do get what you mean. Star Wars, in a sense, was not just one genre. Star Wars was arguably like a whole nother world where basically you could use it for any genre.
And
Samurai,
keep in mind,
westerns.
It gets even to the point where a good argument that people made is that outside of some specific scenes, you could arguably put a black and white filter and remove the dialogues, and the movies will still be relatively comprehensible in how the characters move. So potentially taking a cue also from very old cinema. But but again, keep in mind also it was the end of the 70s. And cinemas at that point was still seen as more of a luxury. Star Wars, Jaws, and The Exorcist were the big three that invented the blockbuster formula, basically.
Yep. Basically, the summertime jam to come and see a movie during the summer.
Also, I'm sad to report that the ledge grabbing and moving has been once again slowed down. So we have a step back compared to Secret Agent Clank. Look, I get it. You don't want to make things too sped up, but when you get to the point where I physically feel myself, getting old by moving from place to place, I think you have to rework it just a bit.
Okay, is it better or worse ledge or monkey bar climbing as Wrath of Cortex?
Well, better technically. You've seen how it works, but
I mean, it's not as bad as. Oh, I don't think anything will be as bad as Crash Wrath of Cortex's
monkey bars.
overhead monkey bars. How slow as fuck that is.
Yeah, those were
still not
really
great.
the epitome of slow. But even as you have seen before, even these ones are not really that much flattering. Again, especially considering Secret Agent Clank bothered to actually streamline the process. So what gives?
I mean, Oh, I will say this though. Kudos to the game for giving, I guess, just about every character a dancing animation. Even if for this one it's more of a
not just
wiggle.
the enemies, even the NPCs and the bosses too. So you can use the Groovitron as soon as you get it. Also, again, because as mentioned by Smuggler, Tachyon owns this galaxy, the Polaris galaxy. This is basically a world under his control, and what we're doing here is to find an archive that Clank has actually also seen in his vision with the Zoni, and see what we can do from there. Especially also learning about the Lombaxes.
I'll give the game story credit. Assuming that ship they were in was on autopilot, it makes sense it would go back to its home galaxy, so...
Well, no, that was the smuggler actually, taking them there because, Clank suggested to go there, and the smuggler says, oh, I'm already right there. The pod that they are gonna take at the end of this actually will do it. You'll be able to see.
Oh, what I mean is, like, I assume that the ship that they escaped in was taking them back to this galaxy, but maybe crashed on the way.
Okay, for the Polaris Galaxy, yes. I don't remember if it was intended for them to actually go to the Gelatonian planet or not. I
Oh, I
don't
know
think
what
so,
they were.
considering it was property of Tachyon, so...
Yeah, I think the original plan was just to escape for the meantime and then get back to the planet, but then when they found out about the possibility to find it, yeah, now we're going into
Which
the
also
belly of
means
the
we
beast.
kinda left Quark behind, but I'm sure he'll be fine. I mean, he's
Oh,
Quark.
come now, Tio. As we saw from Secret Agent Clank, Quark can absolutely take care of himself if all those boss battles were anything to go by.
I mean, to be honest, to be fair, yeah, he's supposed to be the galactic hero. So... I don't remember. I keep forgetting what the species name is. Basically, these are Tachyon's foot soldiers. These are not the Cragmites. Supposedly, Tachyon is the last of them, of the species, which again, slight parallel with Ratchet, yes. But how? But those were instead these foot soldiers, basically. Slug-like, kind of like the Galax, slug-like enemies inside, robot containment suits. They're mostly here just for this game. They will be referenced in future ones, but otherwise they're basically dealt with this game.
I can kind of get it, it's a bit like Donkey Kong Country Returns, Get a new villain since it's been a while.
Well, keep in mind, okay, to be fair, yeah, you know about this franchise, Joe, but so you know that soon enough we will have more returning faces. So, Dave, since you actually didn't mention much about it, what do you think of David Berger's scores for so far?
Fine. I mean, they get the job done. They're just not particularly
memorable.
Particularly memorable. But you guys know what I think of the whole memorability versus badness scale.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Ratchet, those creatures are telling us to go inside that building.
Creatures?
For a second, I thought I was going to say, Ratchet, those creatures are telling us to go fuck ourselves.
Clank, I think we gotta get you off the energy crackers, dude.
And here's the thing, the Zoni actually provide Clank a new power-ups.
Have you been modifying yourself in private?
Absolutely not. And I do not care much for your tone.
So, let's give it a go to these Robo Wings and pray that it's better than the Glider in the second game. Oh god,
and yes, go for rings, the patent of any amazing game.
There is no time to waste.
Oh no, that's gnarly, dude.
But yeah, no, I mean, we were talking about Star Wars. Oh, Clank gets that so wise guide who only he can see and hear.
Yeah, it is a plot point, especially the fact that Ratchet cannot see the Zoni, which is weird, admittedly, because there is no reason for them to do so. But we'll get an explanation between the end of this game and a cracking and the next ones. Technically.
Hey Clank, is there any reason why your pal had us go through all those curves and loops instead of just taking us straight here?
Perhaps he is merely bored of his life, Ratchet.
Of course.
Like that's the thing. I get it gameplay wise, but narrative wise, they should have just let us straight instead of basically having us go tour away through the city.
Again, it's probably a cute way to have a marker without having it at the same time. I'll probably still take that over the GPS that tells you you're supposed to go there, and the characters not realizing that. If anything, it's a bit better integrated here by having, Clank being the ones who can, only the ones who can see it.
Any attempt to learn while on these premises will result in permanent confinement in Zordum prison.
So what's the limit with the disco ball? Is it a matter of it needing to recharge?
For this game, the Groovitron only has limited, uses, only 3 that you can carry until you replenish at a Grumblenet store. And it only has a limited time, but it gives you, those precious seconds where the enemy is wide open.
I take it's going to be your mission to show us, at the very least, every model's dance animation.
To be fair, Jova, yes, considering how useful it is in combat, why wouldn't I do it? Anyway, for more power-up returns, as you can see, the Oxygen Mask and Clank's, Hydro Thruster. Alright, now it's time to go deeper. Warm.
Thankfully, we still have the air-breathing helmet.
Yeah, the Oxygen Mask, yes.
You see, Samus, it's not that hard to hold on to all your power-ups.
But Jova, she got slammed onto a wall. I can't wait to see what kind of weird excuse they'll have in Metroid Prime 4 to justify her starting, from scratch.
Especially if that's supposed to take place after Dread, in which case,
Dread is supposed to take place after the Prime Saga, because it functions as, well, actually, no, Dread is the last point in the timeline, it's after Fusion. So, Metroid 2 Return of Samus is supposed to be set, immediately after the Prime Saga, because, it has Ridley in, in its morphing state between
Proteus Ridley,
from Omega to these more state in Super Metroid.
I thought I'd heard though that there was a chance Prime 4 might be finally going beyond the endpoint of a timeline. Like, I don't know if they're going to have all the Prime games happen in the same year, or just characterize them by being the first-person Metroid games.
That's
regardless of when they take place.
I got to know, especially because, Federation Force, the spin-off, it's still supposed to be taking place, in that, during those events, and that is important for the purpose of the 4, because it has the Silux, aka Potential Man, stealing the Metroid egg, so...
Silux, when are you going to decide to do something, bud? You look cool, but...
Again, to be fair, I believe it's just a case where the first, gameplay trailer just, showcased for the sake of, the intro cutscene, and eventually we'll get an actual proper boss fight against him, kind of similar to how Samus dealt with the Meta Ridley, at the beginning of the first Prime, but you had to still fight it eventually.
Would be nice if we have Ridley again. We have not gotten to fight Ridley in a while, although I guess, to their credit, maybe they are trying to keep him dead canonically.
Yeah, supposedly, Super Metroid is supposedly its, official, proper death. Every subsequent appearance was just a clone of anything.
Yeah, Fusion was literally the corpse of the clone, which, hey, kudos to them, since originally, since Fusion was made before Other M, I think we were just led to believe that somehow Ridley's corpse was there perfectly intact, even though we blew him up.
Again, to be fair, it's more of a combination of different things, like how the X-Parasites, can replicate an entire body efficiently, and despite disintegrating, in-game, that necessarily potentially does not mean a complete character death for someone, because, Kraid survived.
Great, we're trapped. So why did we come here again? Clank?
Planet Fastoon. Interesting.
Why?
Well, according to the database, it is a Lombax planet.
Yes.
Download the coordinates. We'll take the escape
That means
pod.
we'll
But
try to
Ratchet,
get
the
there.
database also says...
Look, there's no time. Come on.
Anyway, see you for the next part where we land on Fastoon, as mentioned. Yeah.
So yeah.
See ya.